What's dangerous is when the universe pick you and you put on the magic glasses. There's rules that go with them. You can never take them off. You never see things as they're supposed to be. You see things as they are. And you can never force nobody else to wear them.
I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts, yeah. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts, but they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts, so I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. Messed up and out of touch, let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. Well, the things I think while I lie awake and contemplate at night are wearing me out.
Good evening. I hope you're all doing well. I'm tired. I used a lot of brain energy today, and man, I will say this. While I am not a proponent of violence, if I could get my hands around the neck of the pencil neck that wrote the script for Joomla 5, I might have to take that opportunity. No, there's a lot of changes to the way things are done. And so the old ways are definitely not the new ways. And even little changes. I spent a good portion of the day just trying to figure out how I could change the size of the font in the titles of articles. And while that would normally be a pretty easy thing to do, not anymore. And even when you change one, well, it doesn't mean that that's going to work out that way, because it's got some stupid type of resizing code, and it's on crack. And, yeah, but I succeeded at least good enough for now, after, I don't know, 2-3 hours. So I'm so sick of looking at code and, oh, but that's not the best part. The best part is, God knows how long it was working for. I wouldn't know, because I didn't realize that now you have to delete your cache in order to see the changes in something like that. So who knows? I could have had it right in the first 45 minutes or less, and I wouldn't have known, because I didn't know to delete my cache so I could see the change on the site. Since when on something like font size? So anyway, I know, total geek stuff, but I am what I am. So it was kind of odd. I put up that video a little bit earlier, and just as I got done uploading it and crossing the T's and dotting the I's to put it up on the YouTubes, I looked over and I got a number 1 on Facebook, which got another number 1 on Facebook. And I looked over, and it happened to be, I'll have to help that young lady. I happened to look over, and there was a one on Facebook. I looked at it, and it was a reported post on the group. And I went over there, and I'm like, okay, what's going on now? So I started kind of speed reading through the comments, seeing what kind of member conflict was going on, because that's what was reported. I didn't see anybody arguing with one another. Everybody was in agreement with one another. And I'm like, okay. And I happened to see the issue. The lady that reported the post happened to be tagged and called out as being one of the individuals that knows the identity of the dog owners, and not letting go of that information. So I'm sorry, but I can't help that. I mean, if it were an innocent person, I would have to stick up for said innocent person. But when you're one of the perpetrators of the problem, not so much. Best of luck with you. I mean, this is how it works, folks. And it takes people with integrity. It takes people with the strength, the kahunas, if you will, to do this stuff. And I certainly am not one that gets budged easily. And that's a fact. And after what I went through roughly 10 years ago, you're not going to budge me very easily. I'm done being budged. I'm done being pushed around. And that feeds into others as well. It means that I won't let others get pushed around either. And I've always been that way. In fact, pretty much every single fight I've ever been in has not been my own. It's been me defending somebody else. So, because I always kind of just let things roll off. People are stupid. And I knew that at a young age, and I just, whatever. But when I see somebody, an innocent person, getting attacked, I can't stop myself. I do and will get involved. And there are many instances of that over my life. But, myself, people are stupid. Anyway, craziness. Let me respond to this young lady real quick. Let's see. Hang on. Just give me a moment. Okay. Sorry. I just didn't want her to think I was ignoring her. And it's, I'm not going to reveal what it is, but in my opinion, it's an important question, and I wanted to answer it. So anyway, I really hope that that the right things happen in that situation. And I'm glad to see the amount of people that's standing up and speaking out and how vocal they are. I mean, they aren't shying away from saying how they feel, that's for damn sure. And that's good. That is good. That's the way it should be. Because whether it be your mayor, whether it be the law enforcement in your town, whether it be the board members, no matter what, if they are on that public servant list, then they damn well better be serving you. And if they're not, guess who's accountable? You are. Because you're the one that are supposed to make sure that they do the job. And I understand that each person as an individual, that's hard to do. However, when you are a group of people, you can make things happen. And so, I love this town. There's a lot of great things about this town. There's a lot of great people in this town. But like many places, the government's a little, less to write home about. And that's on us. If we don't fix it, we have nobody else to blame. We can't point the finger at anybody else because it's our job. It is literally in our job description to make sure that they do what they're supposed to do or kick their ass. I mean, it's in the contract. It is in the contract. And so first you try to kick their ass civilly, and if that gets nowhere, well, then, have to read the next line in the instruction manual. I won't go there. I'm trying to avoid the killdozer moment, right? No, I'm kidding. That that doesn't get you anywhere either. I mean, while that makes a great meme and it makes a great story to tell, the man is no longer with us, and guess what? Nothing came of it. I mean, the problem wasn't fixed, and all you have to do is watch the documentary and you understand that. Some of the people that he was mad at have spoken, and I've seen the documentary, and they still have the attitude that they were in the right and he was wrong. And so did it do anything? No, it didn't. So it's important that you not go there. What's more important is that you find like-minded individuals and you fix the problem. You don't have to get out the welder and the bulldozer and all the steel. You don't have to do it. All you have to do is get together a group of people and at first address the issues. And if that doesn't get anywhere, then go to the ballot box. Right? You have to follow, again, I'll say this again. That is one of the things that I admired about Ammon Bundy. and those that were with him, because they did everything. They started from square one. They did everything. And they only did the parts that most of us know about after they exhausted every single thing. And that's when they took it to quote-unquote extremes. I wouldn't call it extremes. They went through every procedure, every process. They did it all. I can't call that extreme. They were following the manual. You can't ask for more than that. In fact, I would consider that so patriotic. That is the height of patriotism. There's also the height of restraint when you think about it. I sure the hell hope that stuff like that doesn't have to happen here, and I hope it doesn't have to happen where you are. But it just goes to show just how corrupt and tyrannical that some of these folks are. So, all I know is this. I have no choice but to stand up for what is right. I just don't. I don't have a choice. And when it comes to right versus wrong, I have to go the entire way. I just do. Let no weapon used against me prosper. And I'm telling you, all it does is take that faith of a mustard seed. All it takes. Anyway, speaking of corruption and nonsense and the haves versus the have-nots, I got a question for you. You think all this stuff that the Biden administration is so happy about doing to us today is going to apply to Biden himself with his little green Corvette? Because I'm kind of doubting it. And in fact, I'm kind of doubting it's going to apply to any of them or their Lord knows how many airplane trips they take here and there. And I mean, look at all the time that Congress has off during the year. And, you know, a good part of those folks are flying in jets back and forth, right? And they're not taking commercial jets. Oh, no. They're taking private charters. And think of all of that CO2. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And I am so sick of the socioeconomic classes that there are in this country. You know, on the website, the Highland Patriots website, I mentioned that, and I can't remember exactly how I worded it, but I had mentioned it because there's a lot of truth to it. And I had said, here it is, society reaches a level of disintegration when all fairness is lost and justice is only available to the protected class. And that is so true. That's when you know that your society is done. Absolutely done. And we're seeing that today on every level. Every single level. And, I mean, in the macro, I don't think there's much we're going to be able to do about it, honestly. I just really don't. We need to continue to get ready, continue to prepare, because this ship's going to sink. There's nothing we can do to stop that. And, you know, no matter how much it sounds great to be able to talk about fixing it and saving it, meaning the entire ship, there's this book I've read, and I guarantee you that if we fixed it, it would be mentioned in that book. And it's not. So, you know, do what you can locally, but make sure you're preparing for the big picture. Because if you don't, yikes. Anyway, let me have a sip of coffee, a vape, and we'll get into this. You know what really pisses me off? And it was in the thumbnail picture, right? He's wanting us all to get rid of our gasoline-fueled cars while he's got that pardon the language, that shit-eating grin on his face and pointing like, I'm the man! I'm the man! Yeah, you probably can't even tell the brake pedal from the gas pedal now. Settle down there, old-timer. I mean, dude can't even ride a bike. I'm pretty sure we shouldn't let him behind the wheel of that vet. Hell, he can't walk up a set of stairs at this point. I mean, I normally would not make fun of somebody in that situation. But when they hold the highest seat in the United States of America and are put there to be a puppet, to be a placeholder, to be anyone other than Donald Trump, I'm going to call it out. Anywho, Biden administration cracks down on gasoline-fueled cars. Again, not for them, for us, don't worry. U.S. President Joe Biden's administration has followed through on its pledge to accelerate the phase-out, you like how they did that? The phase-out of cars powered by internal combustion engines, unveiling new emissions rules that may force the nation's auto industry to be dominated by electric vehicles in less than a decade. Sorry, I'm screwing up the context. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency released its new emission standards for passenger vehicles on Wednesday, laying out limits that will start getting tougher in 2027 and ratchet further downward toward 2032. The agency said that under one scenario, its 2032 standard could be met if 56% of new cars and trucks sold are EVs and 13% are plug-in hybrids. I got something plug-in for you. EVs accounted for just 7.6% of new vehicle sales in the U.S. last year, meaning the new rules may necessitate a 9-fold increase in the segment's market share. The guidelines are designed to allow automakers to choose the emissions control technologies they will use to be in compliance. EPA Administrator Michael Regan said, however, the industry has already largely given up on hydrogen fuel cells to power its vehicles, so EVs figure to be the primary solution. Wait a minute. The industry? No. The industry did not give up on hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. And in fact, there are some that are still hard at work because it just works much better. I mean, the ones that have given up on it are the ones that are getting the kickbacks for all these electric vehicles. Because believe me, they're not being shoved at us because they're going to fix the problem. Anyone that thinks they're, at this point anyway, that they're going to fix the problem, they just need to pay back attention just, I don't know, a couple of months or so ago, whenever all the vehicles wouldn't even move because it was so cold out. How about all of the accidents that get caused because of electric vehicles that run out of electricity? And, well, I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I am all for this technology. I love this technology. I really do. But it is not ready for a mass scale. Plain and simple. It's something to work towards, but it's not ready yet. And it's not going to be ready for some time. Not going to be ready until we can have better and much safer cells. That's the biggest thing. I mean, what are people supposed to do? If you haven't seen a lithium-ion battery on fire, I suggest you look it up on YouTube. It's scary. And I love the technology. I got a huge battery pack I built that I've talked about that's made with 18650 lithium-ion cells. But I respect it. I know the danger that it has, and I use common sense. Not only when I built the thing did I use common sense, I used cells that I knew were going to be okay. I used a very, very good BMS board whenever I built the pack. So that's great. The chances of me getting involved in a 13-car pileup with my electric bike are a little slim. However, you can get caught up in a 1-car pileup with an EV, and Lord knows what you're going to burn up. I'm serious. If you hit a home, goodbye home. I mean, it's crazy. And what about the poor individual that's in that vehicle? What about the firefighters that have to fight that fire? You know, I really don't want to bring this up. I really don't, but I feel like I must. We just lost an important member of our firefighting community here, largely as a result of inhaling the smoke that came from a lithium battery fire. So, I mean, we're not ready. We are just not ready. Anyway, let me get off my soapbox and read more of the article here. With transportation as the largest source of U.S. climate emissions, it has nothing to do with them taking all those jets back and forth. These strongest ever pollution standards for cars solidify America's leadership in building a clean transportation future and creating good-paying American jobs, all while advancing President Biden's historic climate agenda, Reagan said. Reagan, I don't know. He claimed that the new mandates will reduce greenhouse gas emissions by more than 7 billion tons over the next 3 decades. It's not clear whether the EPA's, the funny thing is within 3 decades, pole shift, it's not clear whether the EPA's estimates could include the emissions that will result from increased generation of electricity to charge millions of new EVs. Coal, natural gas, and other fossil fuels accounted for about 60% of the nation's power generation last year, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. And as the EPA has acknowledged, studies have shown that the production of EVs and their batteries generates higher emissions than the manufacturing of conventional cars. Yeah, they might acknowledge it, but they don't apply it. Critics of the new mandates have argued that Biden is essentially forcing U.S. consumers to buy cars that many don't want or can't afford. The Biden administration is deciding for Americans what kind of cars they are allowed to buy, rent, and drive, said Senator Shelley Moore Capito, a West Virginia Republican. She added that the new rules mandate an unrealistic transition to EVs and threaten a power grid that is already being weakened by EPA-driven shutdowns of fossil fuel generators. Can't make much more of an honest statement than that. You just can't. We're not ready. We are not ready, and we're not going to be ready for some time. Not unless they actually release some of the better battery technologies, but we still don't have the grid for it. Because look, let me be clear. Now, the better battery technologies, right, they're better in many ways. And one of those ways is they charge faster. Well, you don't get something from nothing. So if you're gonna be able to charge that battery faster, that means you're gonna have to have the capability of more input to be able to charge that battery faster. We can't keep up with the input that's needed now. So even as we move forward in technology, namely battery technology, it's just gonna compound the problem when it comes to charging those batteries. Man, I've got EcoFlows. I've got one of them is the Delta 1300, the OG Delta 1300. And I wanted that because it doesn't have all the bells and whistles. It don't have an updatable firmware. It doesn't have an app control. It doesn't have all that nonsense that people are having problems with. But I also have an EcoFlow River 600, right? One of their newer models, and it does have the app control, and it does have this, that, and the other thing. However, you can set in the app, you can set the charge rate. Well, you can't really set it. You can either fast charging or slow charging. And I've actually got it set for slow charging, okay? Because it's better and easier on the batteries that way. But I can only imagine, because I have seen that thing, I have plugged it in on fast charge, and also the Delta 1300 is no slouch at charging, that's for sure. And man, those things, they suck some power. I couldn't imagine having one of the big units, right, and plugging those puppies in that, oh my goodness, 1,800 watts input, and I mean, some of them go much higher than that. That's insanity, yo. Insanity. For a quote-unquote solar generator, that's insane. And as they advance, they come out with systems that charge faster. And again, you don't get something from nothing. If you're able to charge that much faster, then you have to have the supply for that. Our grid's not ready for it. Our grid's not ready for what we have now. Again, I love the technology, but I love the truth too. France, now we're going to shift gears quite dramatically here. France considering Ukraine military deployment, says Odessa MP. You don't say. They haven't been talking about that for, I don't know. France is preparing to send troops to Ukraine. Alesky, man, they need to really hire people with easier names. They really do. Alexei Goncharenko. Goncharenko. Yeah, there you go. That's probably not it. A senior Ukrainian MP wrote on his Telegram channel on Wednesday. The official is currently in France for a meeting of the Committee of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, or PACE. I like PACE, right? They had to change his last name to PACE because it's, according to PACE, well, no, actually Goncharenko, but, who represents the city of Odessa in the Ukrainian parliament, Paris is considering deploying a military force to the Ukrainian regions bordering Belarus, discussions about which are proceeding effectively. I'm in contact with my French colleagues, and I can already say that everything is serious. There is talk about a deployment of European soldiers to the border with Belarus, a mission that will free the Ukrainian military station there and allow it to move to other directions, to the front line to get slaughtered. This will help strengthen our eastern and southern fronts, Goncharenko said. According to the MP, his sources close to President Emmanuel Macron claim the French leader is very determined to send troops to Ukraine, but the number of soldiers is still being discussed. Goncharenko claims that in order to form the force, France wants to create a coalition of allies. In other words, it's not just going to be us, bro. Which could include Poland and the Baltic states. Germany is unlikely to join the effort, he notes, as Berlin sees boots on the ground as an unnecessary escalation and is afraid of a direct confrontation with Russia. See what they're doing there? I see what they're doing there. But, you do know I've got an article after this one. So, it kind of goes against what this cat's saying right now. Says the MP also stated that Macron wants to create a joint base for training of military personnel and the production of ammunition in Ukraine 2 locations in the west of the country are currently being considered for the purpose. It looks like France is tired of Russia. Europe is preparing to show strength, Goncharenko concluded. Well, about Germany. German children must be prepared for war, says the minister. But I just thought that you didn't have the right stuff. It's ridiculous what's going on. German children should be made to prepare for war to boost resilience. This is Education Minister Bettina Stark-Watzinger stated on Saturday. She said kids should be taught what to do in the event of conflict and suggested introducing civil defense drills in schools so that youngsters will be prepared for the years ahead. Now, I don't know about Germany. I would imagine it was true, right? With the way pretty much a lot of the countries, the entire West, Western countries, as a matter of fact, this whole anti-gun push. So how do you do that? How do you push with such an anti-gun message and at the same time teach them how to arm up? That's confusing. It says society as a whole must prepare well for crises, from a pandemic to natural disasters to war. Civil defense is immensely important, and it also belongs in schools. The goal must be to strengthen our resilience, Stark-Watzinger said in an interview with the Funk Media Group. She also called for a relaxed relationship to be fostered between school children and the German armed forces, suggesting that military officers should visit schools to explain what the Bundeswehr does for our security. President of the German Teachers Association, Stefan Dahl, told Bild last week that the minister's proposal makes sense. Dumbass. I expect that federal minister will to now seek discussions with the education ministers in the federal states, he said, adding that a declaration of intent is not enough. Politics lessons now have to teach about the war in Ukraine and the pan-European, even global threat situation. Stark-Watzinger's initiative reflects the German government's policy aimed at making the country war-ready in the face of a potential Russia-NATO conflict, which could happen within a few years, according to its senior German defense officials. So again, better not have a gun as a citizen. In fact, you can't even have that steak knife in public. But, let's teach your kids about war. And, I don't know, maybe how to change their identity. I really wish they would stop using the kids for every single damned agenda that they come up with. They didn't do that before. I mean, they did to some extent. Like, I grew up in the 80s, so, of course, we had the be scared of the Soviet Union thing. We also had be scared of the nuclear war thing, and those were both pretty effective things. But they weren't giving us, instructions on civil defense. They were telling us to hide under our desk because that was really going to help. Boeing mulls sale of defense assets, says Bloomberg. I wonder why. Well, the answer is because they at least want some portion of their company to survive. Boeing might sell at least 2 of its defense unit businesses to improve its finances amid mounting safety concerns, Bloomberg reported on Tuesday, citing unnamed sources familiar with the discussions. The world's second-largest aircraft manufacturer by market capitalization recently hit severe turbulence, with its shares plummeting amid a series of quality control scandals that have resulted in grounded planes and numerous safety checks. You happen to not mention all the dead people? Okay, well, there's a bunch of dead people too. Boeing has engaged financial advisors to gauge interest in several of its smaller units, including digital receiver technology and unspecified defense programs under the corporation's Global Services Division, sources told Bloomberg, adding that efforts have been underway for about a year. The aerospace giant is also reportedly mulling options for divesting its stake in United Launch Alliance, the rocket launch joint venture owned with Lockheed Martin. Earlier this year, media reports emerged that ULA had attracted interest from Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin. Any defense sale by Boeing, one of the Pentagon's prime contractors, would face scrutiny from U.S. regulators, and concerns about consolidation among the biggest suppliers are increasing. Moreover, antitrust regulators such as Lena Khan, chairwoman of the Federal Trade Commission, have reportedly been critical of Boeing's monopoly over U.S. civil aircraft production. The plane maker is now facing a wave of safety audits of its 737 MAX 9 in the wake of a near-catastrophic event on January 5th, when the Alaska Airlines flight bound for California from Portland, Oregon, had to turn back after a door panel blew off at 16,000 feet, injuring several of the 171 passengers on board. Boeing shares have lost more than 30% since the accident. On Tuesday, Federal Aviation Administrator head Mike Whitaker told Reuters that the manufacturer needed to improve safety culture and address quality control issues before it would be allowed to boost production of the 737 MAX. Now, I have one more suggestion, too. Maybe not schwacking people in a hotel parking lot. That might be a good suggestion, too. Maybe you should cut down on the schwacking people in the hotel parking lot, making it out to be a suicide. I would recommend that, too, because that's probably not really good for your image. I don't know. Just a thought. Just a thought. Need a company no schwacking policy, I guess. They put it right next to the DEI and all the other stupidity. Washington pushes for Russian uranium ban. You think? I mean, but you're going to piss off Hillary and the whole uranium one thing, and yeah, be careful with that. You're going to piss off the Clintons, and you know what happens when you piss off the Clintons? They Boeing you. That's what they do. They Boeing you. I mean, we got a new term for it today, but same thing. You'll be, what's that reporter's name that I swear he was hit by a missile? Michael Hastings. That's right. They'll Michael Hastings your ass in a hurry. I know that dude was hit by a missile. The reason I know Michael Hastings was hit by a missile, because his car ran into a tree, right, which was on the right side of the road. But the engine block for said car was straight down the damn road. So something with a high amount of velocity and maybe a little bit of bang hit that car and launched that engine straight forward. And the carcass, if you will, of the car at that point in time veered to the right and smacked a tree. But I guarantee you Hastings was hit with a missile. It's the only thing I know of that would be capable of doing that. Now, I know you're not going to believe this report. I know you're not going to believe it. U.S. drops out of happy top 20, says a report. I know you're... No. Can't be true. They need to pump up the pharmaceuticals. Mounting gloominess among younger people has seen the U.S. tumble down a global well-being index. Really? According to the World Happiness Report released on Wednesday. You mean legalizing all the weed didn't fix that? Imagine that. In fact, what? It woke up a bunch of people? Oh, damn. Psych. For the first time in the rankings' 12-year-old history, the country did not feature among the 20 happiest nations. The U.S. dropped down from 15 to 23rd overall, thanks Joe Biden, but was ranked 62nd when the views of people under 30 were exclusively taken into account. Happiness of those aged 60 and over would place the nation 10th. Well, yeah, because they're about the hell out of here. They're like, I had decent times, you know? Let me out, Captain. I know we're at 16,000 feet, but that panel's coming off anyway. Just let me out. Sorry. No, I'm not. When it comes to the top of the list, Finland was ranked number 1 for the 17th year in a row. Lithuania was the world's happiest nation. Pack my bags. According to the views of those under the ages of 30, Denmark is the happiest for people over 60. I have to decide, Lithuania or Denmark? Now, I've got some pretty good recollections of what I've heard about Denmark, but they're not so fun anymore, I don't believe. Ow. Yikes. Russia was ranked 68th, apparently. I'm sure there's no Russophobia involved in that. According to the views of those under 30 who were described as the country's happiest age group. Now, I'm sure there couldn't possibly be any propaganda involved in that. Out of the 143 countries surveyed, Afghanistan and Lebanon remained at the bottom of the ranking, with the former facing ongoing humanitarian crises since the Taliban took power in 2020. I'm pretty sure it was a pretty damned unhappy place when we were bombing the shit out of it, too. So, I mean, it's not just been since the Taliban's been in control. Anyway, I'm done about reading happiness. The lack of happiness. It didn't make me any happier. Neither does this, because video games may cause erectile dysfunction. Now we know why the youth aren't very happy. Oh my goodness. A new study has found that extended computer use Extended computer use more than triples a man's risk of developing erectile dysfunction. Long-term screen time, the researchers explain, may lower men's sperm production and eventually cause impotence. After analyzing data from more than 220,000 men aged between 40 and 69, Chinese scientists discovered that for every additional 1.2 hours spent using a computer, a man's chances of experiencing erectile dysfunction increased by 3.57 times. No, they're worn out from the porn. They're worn out. Hey, for a lot of guys, that's not really a joke. And if you're one of those guys, I don't give a shit. You shouldn't be doing that. The study, published in the Andrology Journal on Wednesday, set out to see whether different kinds of sedentary activity affected men's erectile function. However, they found no evidence to suggest that watching television or driving a car for the same time had the same effect. Look, you'd be a little hard-pressed to find somebody that sits in front of a computer screen more than I do. I sit a lot in front of a computer screen. No problem. None. Not even the little slightest. Think maybe you ought to look into some other things, maybe involving what they are doing on the computer, because that joke earlier may not be so much of a joke. The scientists did not examine the effect of computer use on men younger than 40, who are far more likely to spend long periods playing video games or using social media. While the researchers did not discover exactly how computers affect erectile function, they found that men who spend longer in front of the screen showed higher levels of follicle-stimulating hormone, which is manufactured by the brain's pituitary gland. That's going, I mean, that's what it's about. Lowers levels of FSH cause a drop in sperm production and could also cause ED, they theorized. For those oh, did she? I deserve that one, kiddo. I can't. Yeah. Don't slap the monkey, kids. And stop spitting on it. Damn, get you a bottle of Jergens or something, man. Oh, gosh. This is the last article I have up, and thankfully so. Assange in plea deal talks with the United States, says Wall Street Journal. Says the U.S. Justice Department is considering whether to allow WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to plead guilty to a misdemeanor offense in order to avoid extradition to the U.S. on espionage charges, the Wall Street Journal reported on Wednesday. The potential deal would see Assange plead guilty to mishandling classified information, with the 5 years he has already served in London's Belmarsh prison counting as his sentence, the unnamed sources told the newspaper. Assange's lawyers and U.S. officials have held preliminary talks in recent months to sketch out a possible bargain, the sources said. However, Barry Pollock, the lawyer for the jailed journalist, told the newspaper there are no signs that the department is ready to accept the deal. If a deal were reached, it would end a legal battle in play for more than a decade after his arrest by British police in 2010 for sexual offense allegations that he denied. Assange jumped bail in 2012 and was granted asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. He was arrested again in 2019 when Ecuador revoked his asylum and has remained in Belmarsh ever since. The Justice Department unsealed an indictment against Assange on the day of his arrest, charging him with 17 counts of espionage. If extradited to the U.S. and convicted, the former WikiLeaks boss faces up to 175 years in prison. I hope that they can reach an agreement like this. It would be really nice. This is something that they really need to get the politics out of and do the right thing. I mean, here's the thing. The reason why so many people are pissed off, meaning those in power, are because he exposed them. Same with Edward Snowden. They both did what they're supposed to do. Anyway, drink a coffee. I'll read the headlines. Danish minister wants Russian gamers banned from major event. Russia to evacuate 9,000 children after Ukrainian strikes. Cyber flasher jailed in England for the first time. Moscow will not be lectured on elections by the U.S., says ambassador. Trump wins primaries in 5 more states. EU extends tariff-free trade with Ukraine. Putin laments stupidity and injustice in Russia. Zelensky's top advisor calls for more attacks on the Russian border. Macron's troops in Ukraine idea was misinterpreted, says Kiev. Let's see. Woman accused of fraud worth 4% of Vietnam's GDP could face death penalty. RT interviews Avdiivka family that refused evacuation to Ukraine. Biden forgets NATO's newest member. Ukraine producing NATO-type shells won't happen soon, says Washington Post. Russia accuses IOC of racism. U.S. and Turkey agree sanctions compliance scheme, says media. U.S. will defend allies who pay their fair share, says Trump. Polish farmers block roads to Warsaw border crossings. IOC destroying Olympic ideals, says the Kremlin. Yeah, because they were always supposed to be completely, nah. You would think it would be right there. Not picking sides, whatever the hell. EU posed to destroy international law, says Kremlin. Neutral. Damn it, neutral. Let's see. Western troops in Ukraine, an open secret, says Poland. Vatican refutes claims that Pope planning to visit Russia. U.S. and UK rushing to expand Asian NATO, says Politico. France considering Ukraine military I read that. EU's Borrell warns of Ukraine funding vacuum if U.S. stops spending. EU nations leader announces surprise resignation. Israel bows to UK pressure to censor spokesman, says media. Ukrainian parliament in crisis because of Zelensky, says media. EU's free trade compromise with Ukraine in limbo, says Politico. Chemical tanker capsizes off Japanese coast. Ukraine could repay West with Russian resources, says ex-minister. Let's see. Assange and plea... I covered that. A UK firm fires Russian over voting for Putin. UK troops won't fight side by side with Ukrainians, says London. Texas border security law paused again by court. Putin won't be allowed to dictate peace terms in Ukraine, says Germany. And gay bar managers arrested in Russian city. They were arrested for spreading gay or LGBT propaganda. So, because that's illegal there. So anyway, I am going to get out of here. I'm going to try and help a lady out with an issue. And then I'm going to get to bed. So, I hope you all have a good night. I will be back tomorrow, God willing. I hope to see you then. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.